Hey, good morning, everyone. Just want to do a video on the title of my channel. So people, have just kind of been wondering, I guess, and sarcastically, and other different questions related to the naming of my channel. So I figured I would just put my thought process behind that. So the way I see things, us as humans, that there is a potential, I feel, for an afterlife, and probability gets even higher with flat Earth and other things. But so the notion of an afterlife would require something translating to another dimension, however that works. That is not our physical body, because we all know that decays and all that stuff. So there is something else that would get passed on to the next life. And to me, that would have to be a function of our mind. It would have to, be impacted or remember, or store it, just to use like a sort of way we understand like a computer as a central processing unit. It is the thing that is governing, the behavior, the interaction with it, and all the programs and all that are on the computer. And it is sort of the central place where all the computations and all that's happening. And a computer also has a notion of like a hard drive, so a place where it will remember things, store things, and all that kind of stuff. And so to me, that's a very simplified analogy, obviously, of our mind, but in some ways the analogy holds very strongly. And so to me, an afterlife is basically those kind of things carrying on, and for a purpose, and in the very least, you can actually remember them, and they are a part of us, and they might, in many ways, be actually who we are when that spirit is let go. And so, to me, the mind and this thing that may leave our body and carry on are very interconnected. And so, from the Bible, we know that God, if the God of the Bible exists, that God is a spirit. And so, to me, it makes sense that he would have a mind as well. So that's not a big leap. I know that with the way the world is now, it's very arrogant in many ways to think that God exists. It's very arrogant to think that he has a mind, and it's very arrogant, doubly, to think that he's using that mind, with like the way the world is right now. Just chaos, all types of perversion, boredom, all that stuff. It's just vanity, etc. So it doesn't seem like there's much sort of intelligence, behind what's going on, and even compounded further by the Bible narrative with a spirit, the Most High, that entity, allowing his son to die a grisly death on the cross after doing nothing wrong, and in fact doing everything right. So this is the kind of entity that we're dealing with. But one would think, that if he's a spirit, that he would have a mind, and we are created in his image, so that that would make sense, that we resemble certain things that he possesses. And so that's basically, to me, what my channel is about. It's or that's what the title is named after, is that God existing is one thing, but understanding his mind and the way he thinks, to me, is the only worthwhile pursuit. Because to me, that's the only thing that's interesting, and that's the only thing that is eternal, is the source, the originator of this. Because everything else, if that entity were to exist, he's created, and he has the ability to turn those on and off, and make them exist or not exist. And the Bible talks about how Jesus even says like that God can turn stones into humans if he wanted to, and get them to like praise God and do whatever he wants. Like this is again, every single molecule, every single element in the entire universe would be subject to his control, and for his pleasure. Really, it's really his entertainment is what I really feel all this is. And people won't like that, but that's what it is. And he likes certain things, and he doesn't like certain things, and he likes certain storylines, and he has winners and losers, and he's doing things that really, no, he's not consulting me, that's for sure, and he's not consulting anybody else, and so that's just the way it is. And so this is the world that we live in, but to me, pursuing his mind is again the only worthwhile thing, because we'd have to think that if an entity like that exists, his mind would be an incredibly fascinating place. For someone to have the creativity to create an Earth and put billions and billions and billions of people on it, put a sun and the moon in the sky, have it do what it's doing, and all that kind of stuff, and create all these things that people have been trying to learn, generation after generation, all these things, math, science, physics, supercomputers, all this different things. It's like these are just one of his ideas, and they're very, very trivial for him. And he could literally. And another amazing thing too that I think that is not talked about enough is that he makes everybody think that that they belong where they are. Like, I have no reason at this moment, at least, that some days are better than others, but I have no reason to not think that I belong here in this moment, in my apartment in Houston, in my physical body, and it's just normal. Like there's no, and really this is really our biggest fault, but actually God's biggest one of his biggest accomplishments, in my opinion, is that he will create things and allow them to feel like they actually belong there, and not really wonder like, hey, why am I here? Like, what brought me here? What am I doing here? And stuff like that. It's like, now I think God's children are waking up largely because of the evil in the world, but not even necessarily just because of that. But we, those who feel that they have a desire to return back to in my opinion, the mind of God, we're starting to wonder about these things, and look for answers. But so to me, that was actually, what I just said is my main point, is that if God exists, one would think that by definition, everything that he creates, if he were to resemble us in some way, or us to resemble him in any way, he would have a mind, and like us, all of our actions and the things that we do and the things that we've done are logged and stored into our mind. So it's very much like I said, the CPU of our movements, our actions, of our life. And that would be, one would think, no different for him, that he has a mind, probably not a physical thing, obviously, like ours, because he's a spirit, but he has a decision-making capability, and he has a creative ability, so he's able to react to those decisions and do what he's thinking. And so to me, we would all be, everything that has ever existed, this movie that's playing out was an idea in the mind of God at some point. And so how he's eternal and he can then create, things that are time limited, like in our existence, that's obviously a mystery. But we have existed in his mind, and we are just an expression of a point in his mind, and we all started there. That is our original home, our origins. If God were to exist, would be in his mind. And so to me, God's children, we want to return there. We don't know why. We just have a feeling that God exists and that he is worth approaching under his terms. And we want to return back to the mind of God, because in my opinion, there would be no better place to be. If he's able to create all of this, the highs and the lows and all that, what makes us think that he would not be able to create more highs more consistently? And permanently. And so to me, that's why I call my channel The Mind of God, because I feel like if God exists, that is where I would like to return, and that is a place that I would like to also, when I'm there, understand. I think it's becoming clear where we are right now that the entire world is a complete scam. It's just completely chaos. There's just perversion everywhere, and everything is being defiled. Even people who genuinely want to do the right thing are not given the ability. Anyway, I think even some people in leadership, that I'll openly criticize, they may actually want to try and do the right thing, but they're actually choked out by the vibration and the rules that govern, the world, the way the world is right now. And that's probably been that way for all of human history. So to me, again, I just want to reiterate, that's where I feel like we all originate, and God has a lot of ideas, some good, some bad, and he likes certain things and he doesn't like certain things. And to me, this is all a way for us to kind of take a step out of that and kind of observe him from an outside looking in perspective. And that's what we're looking at, is the mind of God. It's as much as this is a movie and people have real worries and stuff day to day, ultimately, to me, if all this stuff cannot be redeemed after we die, if we can't remember what our life was, the experiences, and have them matter, to me, again, this experience is completely pointless. We are literally just characters in a movie that God is playing for his entertainment, and then he's wrapping it up, and it's just like a joke. He's going to have another movie, and we might be a character in that, or may not. So that would be, to me, very, very evil, and I suspect that is not the case. I have a feeling, and biblically supported, that this existence is a conditioning for the kingdom of heaven, but ultimately to understand God and his mind and the way he thinks, and ultimately to worship him, but also to align with him in order for us to be able to remain in his presence. Hope everyone's doing well. Bye.